Pulse nightclub shooting by Michael Weishaus and Carly Photo. The Pulse nightclub opened in Orlando, Florida in 2004 by Barbara Poma and Ron Legler. It was a club open to promote awareness for the LGBTQ+ community. It was in honor of her brother John, who has passed away of AIDS, and it was to represent his pulse in Barbara's heart. In the year 2015, they had a total of 96 events on top of their regular nightclubs. On June 12, 2016, more than 300 people arrived for Latin Flavor Night. While inside, gunshots were heard at 1:58 a.m. from the center of the club. After the gunshots were started, Pulse nightclub put a memo out on Facebook telling all to get out of the nightclub as soon as possible. The music in the nightclub was so loud that when the gunshots began, it was hard to hear. Being played now is a video of somebody's Snapchat that you can't even tell whether it's music playing or if it's the shots from the AR-15. At 2:02 a.m., an officer heard the gunshots who was working nearby. The officer tried to engage the shooter, but was unsuccessful and had to retreat and call for backup. Since the first gunshot was at 1:58 and he did not engage until 2:02, this means there was 4 minutes of gunfire within the packed nightclub that nobody was there to help. After calling for backup, 2 SWAT members arrived, and in the next 45 minutes, 100 officers did as well. That means there was a shooter inside of a nightclub for almost an hour at this point, engaging in gunfire with nobody to help. Shooting did not stop until 5:53 a.m. At this point, the gunman, Omar Mateen, was dead. He was a 29-year-old male who had pledged his allegiance to ISIS. He came in armed with an AR-15 assault rifle and a pistol. He first shot the bouncer working the door that night. After that, it was easy for him to enter the club and open fire on the innocent. As the police arrived, he took the victims hostage in the bathroom. He then told the police not to enter because he said he had explosives. This was later found out to be false. Police finally made holes in the bathroom to break in from the outside. By the time this happened and he was shot dead, 49 were killed, 53 were wounded, all of who were between the ages of 19 and 50. They all just planned on coming out for a fun night out as they usually do at Pulse nightclub, but tonight was not the same. Tonight was a night that Pulse nightclub will never forget.
After the incident, the club never opened again. In May of 2018, they opened a temporary memorial for all those affected to come and reflect. The memorial showcases walls of photos showing the world's emotional responses, green space with benches for reflection, and viewing areas of Pulse itself. They even chose openings of the rescue that happened in the bathroom in the original nightclub sign. After the incident, Barbara started the One Pulse Foundation, which is a nonprofit that is overseeing the design, construction, and operation of a permanent museum and memorial. The mission of the foundation is to create a sanctuary of hope and education around the tragedy. The other foundation that was created was the One Orlando Fund, which was established through the generosity of businesses, foundations, and individual donors. Following the horrific tragedy at Pulse, there was a tremendous outpouring from the community seeking to provide financial support. In response, Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer announced the foundation of the One Orlando Fund. The fund paid out over $27.4 million to 299 recipients that were affected by the incident. In June of 2018, it was reported that over 24 survivors of the shooting were suing Orlando police officers as well as the city, and that their civil rights were violated that day. After Pulse, there was never incident to that scale. But on the local level, there was a shooting at Ultra nightclub in Providence just the other month where a man was shot in the chest. The victim was found outside the entrance of the club just after 1:30 a.m. He was transported to the hospital and listed in stable condition. The morning after the shooting, Providence Board of Licensees took a vote and unanimously decided to impose an emergency 72-hour closure of the nightclub. Our first recommendation to make sure this type of incident doesn't occur again would be to install panic buttons. This would allow for the whole club to be notified if something was going on through lights in the ceiling, flashing, as well as loud noises. This would cost about $10,000. The next thing we would suggest is getting alarmed emergency doors. Installing alarmed emergency doors would allow for those fleeing to alarm others to run as well. 6 stores that would need to have these in Pulse would cost $1,792.80. The third thing we would suggest is getting more officers for outside the club. There was only one officer working outside of the club at the time of that incident. We propose that there is a minimum of 1 officer for every 150 people. Seeing there were about 300 people that night, we'd want 2 officers, which would cost us about $250. Our last suggestion is getting non-armed guards for the bathroom, non-armed security guards to serve as bathroom attendants. But if something was to go wrong, they'd be able to give direction and keep patrons safe. For 2 bathrooms would cost $200. In total, all of our solutions would cost $12,242.80.